Welcome to the Homestead Podcast. You are joining co-hosts Carol and Jamie of twogalshomesteading.com. If you found yourself here, that means you are ready to take responsibility for what you eat, your family's health, and your family's well-being while living a simpler life. You can do this and have fun, saving money along the way. Let them help you unleash the homesteader within. By doing more with less, you will gain what is needed to create confidence, impact, and change in your life and the lives around you. Let's start homesteading. Let's start now.
We'd like to give a special thank you to picosupply.com for sponsoring our podcast. Hello, Jamie.
Hi, Carol.
So here we are. Jamie, what's going on in your kitchen?
Not anything excitingly special or new, but did make the crackers. I think I perfected that cracker recipe.
Yep, with your sourdough.
With my sourdough starter and the recipe that we got from Kelsey. Yeah. And come to find out that when she joined us last week, that that is out of Jill Winger's cookbook.
They are really turning out nice. Yeah.
To and they're not hard either. They're
they're crispy like a
cracker and stuff, and they're not hard. They do take a little bit of time because you divide one batch you divide it in four, and so you can roll them really thin, and so you basically have four stones of crackers, but it makes a huge container of crackers.
And how long do they keep, or are they usually gone within a couple days?
They're gone within a few days.
Okay.
I think the longest I kept them was probably 3 or 4 days. And this time of year, they don't get soggy. In the summertime, I'd have to put them in a jar and vacuum pack them so that they don't get soggy. Because in the summertime, they would get soggy in our house because we don't have an air conditioner, and so the humidity would.
Yeah, that happens to crackers over here too, regardless if they're homemade or otherwise. Yeah. It's just living in Minnesota with humidity is just one of those things.
In the summer, you're always fighting the humidity in the summertime for food quality. Last night, I had made cowboy candy back in the fall, and I had 6 cups of the syrup left over, and I was like, it's not quite thick enough for jelly, and I thought, well, we'll throw this in the crock pot in the after lunch and let it simmer all afternoon, and then I'd come home and can it for jelly. Well, it went a little past the jelly stage, and it's candy. It's really sticky, much thicker than honey. Maybe like a really cold honey is what it was like. And so but it tastes good. So I'm calling it jalapeno candy. And so I liked it. I had a like a little spoonful of it at lunchtime. It was good. Hot. Well, if you had a runny nose, they'd open your nose right up. It's like
then you just canned it then?
Yeah, I just canned it in jelly jars, not knowing how thick it was going to get.
Oh, okay.
If I had known it was going to that thick, I have small ice cube trays. You could have made candy.
Like a hard candy.
Yeah, like a hard candy. I think that would work really good for it.
Oh, well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Did you make notes in your Prairie Planner about that so that you remember next time that might happen?
No, maybe I should. It's like write something down so you
remember
write it
how
down.
You did that. Yeah, because sometimes those errors, you come up with something that's really fantastic.
So I'll have to I know I've seen little gummy trays or molds and stuff. I'll have to get some candy molds or something and
maybe
try that next fall.
Yeah, that might be kind of fun to see if you can make a interesting candy.
Yeah, I told my daughter about it. She goes, "Oh, her husband." She goes, "Oh, Rafi would like some of that because he likes hot food."
Yep.
And so it's like, yeah, we'll pass that on to him. Some of that.
Well, might make a good dip of some sort, maybe.
It's really it's the one I tried to. It was in the refrigerator, and so it was really thick, and I think it's cold. But if it was warm, I'm thinking maybe with a pretzel or something, maybe.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. That would be too hot of a dip for me.
Yeah,
I'm not a jalapeno person, so that wouldn't work.
I'm like,
for me.
I didn't bring any out here because I don't. Nope, they won't like it.
It won't work. Rich will do some hot stuff, and Madison will too, but not a whole lot. But no, that would be a hard pass for me. Anything else?
No, it'd just be. Oh no, I know what else. Cooking frozen meat in the Instant Pot.
You learned that this week.
Yeah, I'm going. It's like, what's for lunch? Let's have tacos. Oh, everything's frozen. Well, so I'd read and I had picked up cookbook at the library that was talking about cooking food from frozen. And I thought, well, the worst you could do is wreck it. And it's like, and so I think I cooked like a 2.5 pound roast for at 60 minutes, and it was still not quite, shreddable.
Okay.
And so then I took it off, cut it in chunks, and did another 10 minutes. So I put all the spices in it. So I put the roast in there, put a cup of water, and then I made up my taco spice that I make, and I threw that on top of it, and I pressure cooked it for the hour. Pulled it out, cut it in chunks, and then did another 10 minutes. And so then it was shred really nicely, and we used it to make tacos.
So I do frozen meat in my Instapot all the time because I is not a planner. And so it's like, oh dear, what do we have? And so I cook from frozen quite often. And the Instapot is really handy for that.
Yeah.
It really is. I do a lot of roast that way. I've done chicken that way. But chicken in the Instapot isn't like chicken in the oven.
Yeah, I was gonna say the skin would be.
Yeah. You're making chicken as a more of an ingredient than like a roasted chicken.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different, but it works and it makes a beautiful broth when you do it that way.
Yeah.
Although I prefer to do my broth when I make bone broth and stuff. I prefer to do it in a crock pot. But I get a real nice gel on my chicken broth and my, I guess I should say, when I make a chicken, I get nice gelled broth, and the same thing with roast. I get a really nice bone broth off of that. But I'd rather do it in a crock pot.
And and your house doesn't. I've heard some people say doing it in the crock pot, your house will smell. But I don't notice a smell from your bone broth when you come in the house. So
Yeah, because now I have a crock pot that's running almost all winter long with bone broth in it because we use beef broth so much in the house. It's part of Chastity's diet. And so I use it quite routinely. And right now I'm in between batches right at the moment. My crock pot's sitting there empty.
Oh, okay.
Waiting for the next batch to go in. But I have it sitting there and I about 7 to 10 days, and then I switch it out.
Make a new batch.
Yeah, I make a new batch. That's how I do it. But just sits there, and as I take out, I just add more water. And for Chastity, I don't need to do any salting or peppering or anything like that. But if I'm going to consume it, then I add a little bit of spices and stuff to it. But she doesn't need that.
Yeah,
because she doesn't taste it. So it is straight bone broth for her, and I do put apple cider vinegar in there to help pull the nutrients out of the bones and stuff like that. But I just refill as I take 2 cups out. I put 2 cups of water back in. And, it works pretty good. And some people cook it until the bones just crumble. And I have done that, but I don't like that with going through her feeding tube. Yeah, I don't like that gravelly stuff.
Well, now I've seen, I think it was some Facebook group, they talked about after the bone broth is that they dried the bones and then pulverized them and fed them to their chickens, or did they use
Could be.
Or they used it in their garden maybe.
Yeah, it could be.
Bone meal.
Making bone meal. Yep.
And stuff. I've never done that.
Yeah, some people say they give it to their dogs, but I'm not sure. Just throw the bone to the dog after you've made the broth, and I don't do that. I don't do that when we pressure cook anything because I'm afraid that it
would get lodged in their throat.
Yeah, and so we don't do that. If dogs get bones, they get raw bones.
Yeah.
That have not been cooked. But anyway, so you had a new experience there with the frozen meat thing.
Yeah.
You'll do it again?
Yeah, because this book said even if like you're doing steaks or something, is that to pressure cook them and then sear them, to either broil them or put them in a cast iron skillet afterwards to get the fried look. Mm-hmm. My thinking would be that you'd have to be careful so you didn't overcook it.
Yeah.
If you're going to do a steak or something.
I am not a steak person. I can't make a steak to save my life that tastes good or that isn't chewy or whatever. I've never perfected that. But I never thought about putting it in the Instapot. That I hadn't thought of.
Yeah. You have to read that.
Yeah,
read
maybe.
more about that.
Yeah. Okay, well, anything else in your kitchen?
No, just besides, making meals and...
Yep. Yeah, in my kitchen, I haven't been doing a whole lot extra either. I do have cream cheese sitting on the counter over there right now. I just added the culture when you got here.
Yep.
And so that'll be hanging tonight.
Is that one where you have to keep it at a certain temperature?
Yeah, you're supposed to keep it at about 86 degrees. And that's a little tricky for me to keep it right there. So lots of times I leave it culture longer.
Oh,
just
okay.
because my kitchen's kind of cool.
Especially this time of year.
Yep. And if I put it in the oven with the light on, it's too warm.
Oh.
And so the overnight thing gets kind of weird, and our house cools down at like 9 o'clock at night. So,
Yeah.
so I just kind of leave it sit there. I put maybe to wrap a towel around it or whatever, and then I'll just deal with it in the morning. So I leave it sit for more like 18 hours versus 12 hours. The recipe says 12 hours, but we'll see. I'll see what it looks like before I go to bed tonight, and then I'll decide if I'm going to drain it then, because then it hangs again. Another 6 to 12 hours.
Oh, okay.
When
So
it
it's
drains.
a 2 to 3 day process.
It can be, yeah. But, it works. It's good. And I've used up almost my
12 pounds?
12 pounds of...
Well, that's good.
Yeah. I started giving it to Chastity as her fat additive to her diet. And that works really well because it blends up really nice with her food.
Because typically, do you put milk in her food?
Yes.
Okay.
I use milk or milk kefir. I use yogurt. I use dairy with her anyway. And and normally I use avocados as her fat. And I'm like, well, I got all this cream cheese.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So why
Save
not?
yourself a little money.
Yep. Save a little bit, and I can give that to her. And so,
even though avocados are on sale right now.
oh, well, I don't get to town real often.
No, you don't. And they don't last long on the counter. I mean,
Yes.
you might get a week out of them on the counter if they're green when you buy them.
Yep. So I just thought this was easier. It's something I already have, and I don't have to futz with the avocados, although I know avocados are really good for you.
Yeah.
So you hear that, Rich? They're really good for you. He doesn't like
guacamole.
avocado. He doesn't like that. And then we'll be starting probably another batch of feta cheese.
Yes, I have not received because I did order a cheese kit from Culture for Health, but I have not received that, and I'm sure the storm is part of the reason.
Yes, I'm sure things are slowed down, and then we get the holidays in there, and everything gets kind of messed up. I know they took an extra day because New Year's was on Sunday.
Yeah,
so
everything was closed on Monday.
Yep. So but I was going to make cheese today. That was my plan. But I had saved extra milk to start feta today. But I had 2 people call me and want milk. So my extra milk went out to customers today. So, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I always try again, it's not a big deal. It's not like the cows are going to suddenly stop milking on me here. So, and I've got plenty of milk. So we'll be doing the feta cheese again. Your family really liked it.
Oh, yeah.
I know Rich liked it. I was okay with it. I would still rather eat cheddar cheese, but that's just me.
Well, I'd eat all of it.
And we did, on New Year's Eve when we were here, we did season some of it.
Yes.
We put some dill and
garlic powder,
I think, in there. Dillweed and garlic powder. And you kind of just winged it.
Yeah, I think I did a half.
It's like grandma.
Yeah, I probably did a teaspoon of dill and then a half a teaspoon of garlic, I think.
Okay. Yeah, and I really don't know
and
how much.
And it was probably maybe a little too much garlic, but it was still tasty.
But I don't know how much cheese was actually in that bowl.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. Because we didn't think to, maybe weigh it or something. And try to figure something out.
Wing it.
No kidding. So next time we'll probably
try to make a recipe.
Try to make a recipe and try to figure out.
Because actually I still have some of the plain left.
Okay. Are you thinking about adding some different seasoning to that?
Or
not?
Or not. Because that's pretty much, if I'm going to make ranch type stuff, that's still garlic and onion. I'll have to look at my, I have gobs of spices.
Yeah.
Maybe an Italian spice. Because that's what I put in those crackers.
Oh, that's right.
Was an Italian spice.
Yeah, that was pretty good. So, and those crackers go really good with the feta cheese.
Oh, yeah. The plain feta, too.
Yep.
Yeah, just plain feta with those crackers.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's a pretty good combination there. And all homemade.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
So there was no, because a lot of times we'll eat, if we go out to a restaurant or something or go to somebody's house and it's and we eat what's provided or what somebody was brought. And we'll get home, it's there must have been some preservative in something there that we ate or drank. Mm-hmm. And it's that's not feeling really good.
Yep.
or I'll taste. A lot of times I'll taste it, especially if it's an MSG type thing. I'll taste it in my mouth. But the next day I will be, I will retain water. It makes me retain water. And
Okay.
So like no taking your rings off or anything like that.
Okay. I think we'll take a break and we'll hear from our friends over at picosupply.com.
Family-owned PeteCoSupply.com brings small-town customer service to their online farm store. PeteCoSupply.com specializes in automatic waterers from top brands such as Miraco, Jug, Franklin, Trojan, and Ritchie, as well as other products for your operation. Find your farm supplies and automatic waterers at PeteCoSupply.com. That's PETECO Supply.com. PeteCo Supply.
And we're back. Okay, the only other thing I was going to add was that in the midst of our storm that just passed through here is that we had a horse tip over.
One of your ponies?
One of Madison's miniature horses. I just happened to help a milk customer because my milk customers still come whether the weather is terribly bad or not.
I thought about that. I was like, are they coming in this? Can they get in the yard?
That's why Rich is cleaning the driveway as they still come. And I had helped her. And I thought, I forgot to feed the cats because Madison happens to be in Mexico right now. And so I have to take over her chores. And one of the chores is feeding the cats. And when I remember to feed the kitties, I get it done at least once a day. But I happened to go in and I fed the cat, played with the calf that's recovering in there. And I turned around and I looked in the goat pen and I looked out the door that goes into their yard. And I was like, well, why is Flicka's head upside down on the snow? And she's a black horse, and so it's easy to tell.
You spot her.
Yeah, to spot her. And I was like, what is she doing? And I'm like, oh my gosh, she is literally laying flat on her back with her feet straight in the air.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm like, so Madison has jimmy rigged, whatever you want to call her gating system in there. So I'm like trying to get into the pen. Then I actually look again and I'm like, there's so much snow in that doorway that I don't think I could get through it without being covered in snow, trying to get out of the barn through there. So I'm like, I gave up on the gate and I ran around and went through and I crawled over the cattle panels and I tried to help Flicka get back up. And I am not strong enough to help her. I didn't have the leverage I needed to get her turned.
Let alone in the snow.
Yeah. And I was like, well, she isn't covered in snow, but it's like, 30 degrees outside. So it's probably melting on her anyway. I looked and then she's got a lot of horse manure behind her. So she's been there for a little while and she's kicking, she's trying to help me. And I was like, this isn't going to work. So I jumped back out of the pen. Well, crawled back out of the pen. I really didn't jump. And run through the snow, fell down at least once. Trying to get back up to the house because, of course, I left my cell phone in the house. Otherwise, I would have just called Rich and come into the house and told Rich she needed help or whatever. And so he went out there. He was way ahead of me because he can move faster than I can. And yeah, he simply just grabbed one of her legs and pulled it across her and she popped right up for him. But I think he's got better leverage than I do.
Yeah.
And I went back out there. I looked and she must have laid down to scratch her back because the horses go down and they just like a dog. Yep. And she was literally in a rut. There was a rut. You could tell where she had been laying, and she's pregnant right now. Oh. And so I don't know. I think Madison thought she was probably due in maybe April. And so she's pretty wide, and she's very short. She's a short horse, and so she's very wide. And
So these are ponies.
These are miniature horses, not ponies. Oh. Madison will have your head on a platter if you call them ponies. They are not ponies. They are
called
true.
them pony when I was a kid.
They are true miniature horses.
Okay.
And so she's pretty wide. Oh. And so, but she recovered. And because as I'm texting Matt, I said, okay, now we found her. She seems to be okay. She's standing up. What do I need to watch for? Because in a cow in that situation, we're dealing with bloat and all kinds of bad things can happen with a cow. But horses must be a little bit different. And she's like, well, just watch her, make sure she isn't kicking or biting at her stomach, at her side. Oh. And then she might be suffering from colic. That was the thing we're watching for. But she seems just fine. She was up eating and within a couple hours after the incident. But
and then she's fine today.
Yeah. So that's very scary.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, you try to help and you can't. And then I don't waste a lot of time. If I make the effort once and I know there's somebody else on the farm that's stronger than me, I don't
Yeah.
waste my time standing there trying to help her when I know I'm probably not going to accomplish anything but waste time. And so those are things that happen on the farm that,
Yeah.
and it was just one of those things that just happened to spot her. I mean,
Yeah.
she could have been laying there until evening chores,
Yep.
so.
Until you came out to check,
Yeah,
feed them or whatever.
yeah, whatever, so it makes it interesting sometimes out here, but just thought I would share that with you. And that's just one of those things.
Yeah, it's one of those things on a farm. You know,
Yep.
I watched a YouTube video, something, and they're talking about, death of farm animal. I mean, it's a part of life when you're on the farm. I remember that living on the farm as a kid and stuff. It's like, yeah, there's always, every now and then you'd have an animal that didn't make it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, where there's life, there's death.
Yeah.
So and animals don't last forever.
Yeah.
But it's okay. She's fine. Flicka seems just fine. And the
That's good.
biggest thing for me is that it's not my animal.
Yeah.
And these things always happen when Madison's gone. I don't know what to.
Yeah, where you can't call her and go, hey, Madison.
But anyway, so that was a little excitement and for us in the midst of our weather event that we had going on. But Flicka seems fine, and I'm sure she will be just.
We'll have another
Yeah.
baby
She'll
horse.
she'll have a horse here.
Have to bring the grandkids out when she has her colt.
Yeah, when she has her baby. So what about getting on to our topic today?
Yes.
Since we had this second weather event here in about 2.5 weeks, so I thought maybe we should talk a little bit about what we do as homesteaders to prepare when we have we'll call it a winter event because summer storms are different.
Yeah, totally. You
Yep,
don't
yep.
prepare quite for.
Not quite like you do for a winter storm.
Yeah.
So this one wasn't too bad. So, but the one before that, we had the really cold
below
temperatures and the high winds and that type of thing. And I'm not sure what you all do in town as you prepare because it's a little different.
Yes,
on the
totally. I'm pretty much food wise and water wise. I'm always kind of prepared. I mean, I have a supply of water. I have gallon jugs that I rotate for either filling humidifiers, our CPAP machines, and then we have a water dispenser at the shop that I fill that 5-gallon jugs, and I fill them at our rinse, clean them, sanitize them at home, and refill them with our reverse osmosis. So I buy the jug and then I just reuse it. And so that, and besides going out and I check the propane, make sure, especially I know when, I have it filled in the fall and I know sometime in December it's going to need to be filled depending on what kind of temperatures we've had. I checked it before the storm, before Christmas, and I was at 40%. And then we went through that. And when they started talking about snow again, I thought, I better check it again. And so Bob waited out there.
In that 4-foot drift.
Well, no, the 4-foot drift wasn't there
Oh,
yet.
okay.
It was still below his boots then. So he goes, we're at 19%. And it's like, okay, I need to call them. So I called them Tuesday, and that's when I was like going, are they going to get out here? Can they get back there and stuff? And so he made it back there.
Okay, that's good.
Because it's like where they drag the hose between our garage and our storage shed, and that's kind of where snow ends up getting piled off our yard. And I'm like, can he get through there? He must have.
Oh, that's good because you got heat.
Yeah, we got heat. Yeah, we got a full tank, so I'm good until February or March, depending on what kind of temperatures we have.
Okay.
So besides that, I'm pretty much, I always have a supply of food. I have freezer fulls. I have a pantry full. Besides, maybe like eggs or maybe bread that I would run out of. But running out of bread's not a big deal when you can make bread.
Yep.
If I had to, I'd pull out my old trusty bread machine or make it by hand.
Yeah, well, you got sourdough.
And then I have sourdough. But sourdough, if you needed bread now,
Doesn't work.
no, you need to think. Because I thought, I need bread. Because actually, I thought we used the last of the sourdough, and I'm like, I need to take my starter out and warm it up and get it going again. So I'll because last time I made like 4 loaves and threw it in the freezer.
Oh, so you could take a little break.
Yeah, so I didn't have to be on it daily. And so now I've used those 4 loaves, and now it's like, okay, now I've got to make bread again.
Yeah, so it's kind of nice to have some of those homesteading type skills when you're dealing with weather events and stuff like that, where, I suppose if you lose electricity, that might affect how you can bake your bread. But
Oh no,
you know,
well, baking, yes, because
Yeah.
my oven is ran by a thermostat. But I have a gas stove, so I can cook in a storm. That's the reason when we bought this house, it had electric, and we put gas in it because it's like, well, when the power goes out, I can still cook.
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, we have our house is set up for we have both. We have gas. My stove is gas. My ovens are electric, and we do have a gas fireplace, but we also have electric heat in our house. We have a LP
Yes.
furnace, so if for some reason, we ran out of fuel, we can always do the electricity. Now, if we lose electricity, then the furnace does not run.
Yeah.
And neither does the electric heat, of course, when it runs.
Yeah.
So we do have generators out here, and we have one that can actually run the entire farm. Runs off of a tractor, so we still need fuel for the tractor. But it's, I think Rich calls it a PTO generator. We've never had to use it. Thank
okay.
goodness. We've never had to do that. We're pretty lucky out here. Even when electricity goes out, it's not out for very long.
No.
We don't. I mean, I know another farm that their electricity goes out, and it might be days before it gets fixed.
Oh.
Yeah, and he milks cows, and so he runs a tractor to run his barn so he can get his cows milked.
Yeah.
But we're with a different electric company than he is. He's not that far from us, but it's amazing to see the
different
difference.
companies and stuff. Now, last spring's bad storm that we had was the first time that we were without electricity 18 hours. And then at our business, it was a good 24, if not longer, that we were out without electricity. And so, yeah, we have, my husband tells me we have generators. Actually, in that storm, though,
You were over here.
he came and borrowed one of your little ones
Yeah.
to run our,
Freezers, I think. He said something about saving his bacon.
yeah, that would probably be refrigerator freezers and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But in the wintertime, yes, we'd have to have a generator for our furnace. And he did buy after that storm, he got something. Because
Okay.
we do have a motorhome, and our motorhome has a generator. But like in that storm, and it would be in this storm too, to get it out, because we park it for the wintertime. And right now it's probably got a snowbank in front of it.
Probably. Yeah.
So granted, we have a bobcat that could move that snow, and it would be easier to get it out now with the frozen ground than in that rainstorm.
in the spring, yeah.
Because in the rainstorm, they buried the axle,
Yeah, I bet they did.
and they had to have a big truck come over, a payloader or something, come pull it out and stuff.
Yeah, so yeah, we have several small generators around here. We have a Furman generator, and we also have an Equiflow Delta. Now those are smaller units.
Yep.
One is gas powered, and the other one is solar. And so,
You could bring the little one in and do the furnace.
yeah, probably.
If you-
Yeah, I don't know. We've never been faced with that, so I
Yeah.
really don't know. But I do know that they are here, and they are a backup for us. But let's see, what else? You ever deal with frozen water pipes?
No, we have not. We've lived in this house 27 years and haven't had to deal with that.
Yeah, I was going to say, because this house, now we've had this house since 2012. This is her first house I've ever lived in that hasn't had frozen water pipes.
Oh.
We've never had frozen water pipes in this house, but I remember as a kid, my dad going down into the crawl space of our home and having to thaw out water pipes on a regular basis. Every house Rich and I have lived in has had frozen water pipes at some point. And so that, leaving the water faucet dripping and all
Yeah.
those things, and it's like, I've never had to do that in this house. And it's kind of cool
Yeah.
not to have to worry about that. Because when we lived in the trailer house out here, Rich was thawing out water pipes all the time because they froze.
Yep.
That's just
In the
nature.
trailer. That's
Yep.
the nature of a trailer house.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, I'm thinking, but our house in Raymond, we had frozen water pipes there.
Oh.
Not all the time. It wasn't too bad. But if it got really, really cold, yes, we did.
Now, I know there was one year we didn't have a whole lot of snow cover, and the city was having issues with water mains
Yep.
freezing. Mm-hmm. And so if the water main went across a street, which ours did, then they were having you leave something running. So Ours was we left the toilet run. Talk about drive you insane. I for 3 months we left the toilet drip. So that
Wow.
and they thankfully they prorated our water bill for us.
Oh, I would hope so.
And stuff. And I know one lady in town that her pipes froze and they had a hose running from her neighbor's house over to her house.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because I know they had some problems with Wilmer having some frozen water pipes. Some of their main lines freeze a few winters ago. I don't remember how long ago it was.
It's
or
probably
whatever.
4 or 5 years ago.
But I mean, and when it's the city, that really affects a lot of people now.
Yeah.
Out here, we're lucky on our farm. We have a fairly updated water system because we had to put in a well and sewer when we moved out here to meet code.
Yeah.
But I have a friend who has she actually rents this little farm site in this old farmhouse or whatever. She still has a well that's underground. And so when it starts to get cold, she has to go down into the well hole and put heat in there and all kinds of stuff so she doesn't have frozen water in her house. And so, there's a lot of farms that have, what do they call them? Well pump or well houses.
Yeah.
And stuff. I remember our grandparents had one on their farm.
I have friends out by Lake Lillian that, not you say that? Yes, they put hay bales around it.
They put straw bales around it and cover it.
Winter.
And try to keep it warm. I remember my grandparents had, extra stuff stashed around it to try and keep it warm or whatever. But we're lucky out here. Like I said, we have everything is updated out here, so we don't have to worry about that type of thing. Other than that, what else do we do that would apply to both of us? I don't see anything else on my list.
No, snow removal. We both, I live in the city, and most of the time, the city can move it, but the snowplow was broke, and so that getting around town was a little until today was kind of hairy. Granted, we have a bobcat, so we can like our business, we clean out our business and stuff, and then Bob cleans out our house.
Yeah, but you still got to get around.
Yeah.
You got to get to your business.
Well, we're fortunate we live on a county road, the county road that we live on.
Oh, yeah.
And so the county road it's one of the first roads cleaned.
Nice.
So we got I'm only 2 blocks from Highway 12. So the county or the state cleans that. And then the county cleans the road to the east of our house that so the east road, north and south road on the east side of our house runs.
So you just got to get to that road.
I have like the length of our house, and then I'm on a county road, and getting that far was pretty hairy yesterday.
Sometimes that could be
was
far enough.
Yeah. But then you guys, you have lots of snow out here.
Yeah, and we have a tendency to have a drift that goes right across our driveway. And it's sometimes is 20 feet long, not high, but long, 30 feet.
Out there, I bet it's 2 feet deep.
I bet it's at least that, yeah.
Yeah.
And, so it takes a while to clean it out and be able to move around out here. As far as, our homestead or what we do out here when it comes to the animals, we not only have to worry about the humans, we have to worry about all the animals that are also in our care. One of the things we do, I talk about our dairy cows a lot because they're probably the most important animal we have out here. I did do a recording the other night about our bedding pack. Cows are housed outside, and they do not have access to a barn. They only come into our milking facility for milking, and then they go back outside. So we have to take extra precautions to make sure that they're safe during a storm. And so we have bedding packs, and those bedding packs do move around the farm depending on which way the storm's coming from, what direction the wind is blowing, that type of thing, because we do use the natural resources we have out here for windbreaks. Some of the stuff that Rich's dad's left behind also works for windbreaks. Sometimes it's not so bad to collect a few pieces of junk, I guess. I don't know. But they do work really well. We have some old equipment out here, and we bed the cows behind those when the wind is blowing in a certain direction, and it works really, really well. The storm we had right before Christmas, I didn't even have any drifts to walk out to my cows. That's how sheltered they were. Yes, they got snowed on, but it wasn't blowing around. And it's the blowing that's the problem, not so much the snow, the blowing and the cold. And so we do the heavy bedding. So Rich puts down straw at least daily for them during a storm. Any cow that's close to calving is moved. We either put her in our sick cow bay, our tunnel, or she gets moved into the calf barn. And our calf barn isn't necessarily really set up great for a cow, but for temporary housing, we could just put her in the alleyway.
You don't have a lot of extra space in your calf barn.
No, we don't, but we also have small cows.
Yeah.
So that helps.
Oh, yeah.
Our roof is pretty low in that barn, but our cows are fairly small. So it works. You don't want to have her in there for several days because cows poop a lot. And so, she just gets moved in there, and usually a moo call gets put on her tail so that I can be alerted to anything. Although our moo calls right now are being upgraded, so we don't have moo calls, but I don't have any cows due. I was smart this year and decided we're not having any babies in late December we shouldn't have calves until late April, I think.
Oh.
So we should be pretty good unless somebody surprises me for something for some reason. Let's see, what else do we do? I actually put a salve on all my cows that are in milk or close to calving. I'll do it for them too. I use Dr. Sarah's Savvy Udder Salve, I believe is what it's called. And I put that on everybody's teats that's milking.
Is this something you buy or do you make it?
Yeah, I buy it. But after talking with Kelsey, I'm going to probably make my own because I don't necessarily need all the stuff that's in Dr. Sarah's udder salve. I mean, it's a great product. It works really well for healing teats and that type of thing, but I don't need that stuff. I just need something that is a protective coating on there. And I have found that using a salve versus a lotion, because you don't want to put water on them.
No.
So I want something that is all oils and she's got a lot of stuff. There's a lot of extra stuff in there, a lot of different essential oils that I don't need because I don't need those healing qualities. I just need a protective barrier.
Yeah.
So I'll be making salve for them. My shea butter just came from Amazon here in the course of this weather thing.
Storm.
Yes. And so I'll be making some of that and using that and then saving my Savvy Udder Salve for when I have chapped teats, or I actually have somebody who does get frostbite, because that's why I'm covering their teats, because I don't want them to get frostbite, or at least try to lessen the chances. Mean cows, they lay down in their own manure, they lay down in their own pee, type thing. And so sometimes you can't prevent everything, but at least I can keep it as mild as possible. And, the wind chill is probably the biggest thing. And if we've got them positioned correctly on the bedding pack and stuff, we can pretty much control that. But every once in a while, it still happens. And then the other thing we do check is make sure that all our waterers are working. We do have Richie waterers out here. Thank you, peatcosupply.com, because that's where we purchased ours. We always make sure those are all working because they have heaters in them, and you do need to make sure that those things are working and that we have water, because we've had them freeze up before because a heater went out, and we've had to actually water with hoses and stuff, and that's a big project. To get water to the cattle sometimes. So I really love our Richie waters, and I just cringe when one isn't working right.
I remember as a kid carrying buckets in the wintertime.
Yeah, in our calf barn, we carry water to the calves in the barn because they don't have water.
Yeah.
We have a Richie water for those that are old enough, that are 6 months and older. They share a Richie water with the goats and horses.
Oh, okay.
But the younger ones that are actually penned inside, I'll have to have water brought to them. But let's see. So that's pretty much what I do for our cows. I don't do a whole lot. We just make sure they're fed and, all that stuff. So the other animals, we have chickens out here. Chickens, I make sure there's bedding in their coop, and then I always put extra bedding. I use wood chips in their nest boxes, and I've been really lucky this year. I haven't had a whole lot of frozen eggs, and my chickens are still laying. I got 11 eggs yesterday, and I think I got 8 or 9 today. So I don't know. I don't know why they're still laying like they are.
Must be because it's your first year with them.
Yes, it's my first
year.
year.
You talked about that.
Yep. And, I would have to say that gal is right. The gal from the Little Red Farm, she had mentioned that when the chickens are in their first year of laying, that they have a tendency to lay over the winter. And that's what my chickens are. I have, I think, 18 of them, I think, are left out there. And they are still laying. They look great. And she said that first year, since they don't molt, and so then they keep laying into the winter. Although I do have supplemental lighting out there. We do have a light comes on at 4:30 in the morning and shuts off at 7. and just to give them that extra light.
To give them a little more daytime.
Yep, give them a little more daytime so they do have that. But other than that, I don't do a whole lot with my chickens. That's probably one of the biggest things I see in groups where people are like, oh, it's going to get down to 20 degrees. Do I need to move my chickens into my garage where it's heated and stuff? And no, you really don't. 20 degrees is really not that cold.
No, when we deal with below zero.
Yep. And, there are things, if you have chickens that have combs and big wattles and stuff like that, yes, those things can get frostbite and that type of thing. But at 20 degrees, probably not.
Now, is your coop insulated?
No, it is not.
Okay.
Nope, it isn't. It is an old reefer truck, a box, I should call it. And we at one time stuffed straw into the walls and had chicken wire on it or something. And that's all gone. I've used this chicken coop since probably, 2010.
Okay.
And we're in 23 right now. And so it's been used. The flooring is just about gone. And the door, I noticed I opened it and one of the hinges isn't quite moving correctly. It's not even really attached to the door anymore. So we're probably going to be looking at having to find a different coop or a different living arrangement for them. But you know what? It's fairly warm in there. I'm surprised at how warm it is because I have no heat in there. I have my chicken waterer is just one that keeps it has a thermostat on it, so it keeps it from freezing.
Yep.
And that's it. The water is not warm in there. It's just above freezing. And that's it. I don't baby my chickens too much. Their door to their coop is still open. They can still go out into their yard if they want to. They only go out about two feet. That's about all the more the snow that is.
That's all they can move around right now.
That's all that they go out for, and it allows some fresh air. I really believe that you should not have anything completely weatherproofed when you have animals in it because the ammonia levels and you need some airflow in there somehow or another to make sure that they can breathe and that type of thing. So our calf barn isn't sealed up either. There's doors that are open and stuff so that you got that airflow so that you don't get that heavy ammonia smelling and stuff. Oh, and then with my chickens, I always keep their feeders full and their water full just in case I can't get to them. So when I go out and do my chicken chores, everything is full to make sure because they'll last that feed and water will last them at least 3 days if I can't reach them.
So if you actually get snowed in the house or the snow gets piled back there so high.
Yep, and I can't get there, they will be fine.
Yeah, because if you didn't have the bobcat, you would not get back there.
I probably wouldn't get back there. Yeah, the hydraulic froze. A hydraulic hose that was blowing. Rich could still run the skid steer, but it didn't run very well, and it went through a lot of oil, and that's not good either.
No.
But yeah, so that's the one thing I try to make sure that everything's full. Granted, I probably have frozen eggs or whatever, but I don't care. I just want to make sure they have food and water.
Yeah, so that they live.
Yeah, exactly. We do have rabbits out here, and now they're in an enclosure. They're actually in a lean-to off of one of our buildings. It's pretty easy to usually get to them because we don't have an actual door on the rabbit tree. There's just an opening, and we have just kind of a wire gatey thing that sits in front of it, which you can just pop up and get in there. So that's not such a bad thing because those I can't do anything besides stock up on their feed. Water, they all have crocks for their water, and that always freezes. So you really have to take care of the rabbits.
So you have to go out there and knock the ice out.
Yep, or switch them out. Most of the time we just switch them out. Bring in, thaw those out while we have fresh ones in there. We've only got 9 rabbits. It's not like it's a huge chore or whatever, but sometimes
that's a lot of rabbits in my world.
But trying to get to the rabbit tree can sometimes be a little bit of a challenge with the snow.
Yeah.
But once you're in there, it's not a big deal. Let's see, what else do we have out here? We have horses, goats, and llamas.
Oh, yeah.
And so...
and pigs.
And we have pigs. Pigs are also housed outside. They do not have an enclosure whatsoever. I don't even know if they have a calf hut in there anymore. Oh, yep. Yeah, they do have one calf hut, but the pigs do not use it.
They're not wise enough to go into it.
They don't use it, and then it's not enough room for all of them anyway.
Yeah.
And so Rich usually dumps in straw, a bale of straw, or sometimes if we have a hay bale that's gone bad, he'll throw that in there,
Oh,
and
okay.
they just pile in there. And
I've come out there and seen them all
yep,
barreled
they're
in.
like a big mountain of
Yep.
pigs, and they have to be watered and fed, of course, every day because their automatic waters that they have only run in the summertime because we have hoses for those.
Oh, okay.
So they always have to be taken care of twice a day as well. We really don't do anything too special with them besides add bedding so that they have something dry to lay on,
Yep.
similar to the cows. As far as the horses, goats, and llamas, the llamas are housed with our billy goats or the male goats, the bucks. And there is a hut in there. There's a calf hut in there, and the llamas don't even use it. They just sit out there in the snow, and they just kind of park themselves behind whatever to keep themselves out of the wind. I have some video I took the other day, and I don't know, there's like 4 or 5 inches of snow on top of both of the llamas, and they're just sitting there next to the hay bale, just sitting there looking around like it's nothing.
I suppose their coat is so warm.
Yep, they have fleece. Yep, they stay relatively warm that way. And the 5 goats that were in there all crammed into the little
Goat house.
the little goat house that Madison has in there for them. They were all in there, and they have a water. They have a huge water tank they don't have a Ritchie water, but they have a huge water tank that is filled about once a week. So we just make sure that's full.
Oh,
So-
and it doesn't freeze? Or
well,
does it
there's
have
a heating
okay.
there's a heating element in there that Madison has added to that. So there's heat in that particular bucket. She moved her horses in with her goats, and so for these weather things, she moves them out of their pen because they
okay.
really don't have a place to be out of the weather, and so they get moved into with the goats. And so we just make sure they have the goats and the horses just need to make sure they have
Water.
hay, and they have part of the Ritchie water in that pen. And so we just have to make sure the Ritchie water is working, and then they're bedded. And that's about it.
Okay.
The other incidental type things is we have to make sure we have fuel in the skid steer. It
Yep.
happens to be diesel, so we have to make sure that we have the anti-gelling
The additive.
stuff, the additive to that. Rich backs the skid steer into the barn,
Oh,
and then make sure he has the bucket on there so that he can get out, because where he parks that skid steer, the wind tends to make a big snowbank right there, and so he can't get out without doing this. So he has to pre-plan
Yep.
his next venture out of the building. So that's the one thing we do.
Now that you say that, Bob does that too. If there's a storm coming, he will back the bobcat into one of the stalls at the shop so that it's not covered in snow,
Yeah,
and he doesn't have to dig it out.
yeah, that's the thing. Rich doesn't want to have to dig. He just opens up the
Yep.
garage door, and he can go out.
Yep.
And not have to
push his way out.
Yeah, yep, exactly. And yeah, that's probably the biggest things that we prepare for out here. The animals still need to be tended. Just about everybody's tended. The only thing that isn't tended twice a day is the rabbits and the chickens. I do chickens once a day, and the rabbits are done once a day. But other than that, everybody else is looked in at least twice a day, and maybe more than that, depending on what's going on.
I don't even have a dog, so I don't even think about that stuff anymore.
Do you have a goldfish?
No.
No, don't have that
don't
either.
have those anymore either. We used to have those at one time, but it was like during the time we had little kids, and it was like, I don't have time to take care of the kids, homeschool, and clean the fish tank. So the fish tank gave.
You didn't get rid of the kids?
Maybe-
she's thinking about it.
I may have had moments, but no, the fish tank got given away.
Yeah, I bet it did. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm trying to think if that's everything that was on my list.
Yeah. So yeah, we're not, most people, the grocery stores will be bare right before a storm, because I went in after the Christmas storm. I went into the store, and there was things that were like the gallon jugs of water was like gone. And I'm trying to think, Kleenex is cold flu season. So I was like, glad I bought extras. I was just going to replace what was used, but I have some. And so hence why it's good to stock up when you don't need them. I don't worry about toilet paper because I have, 2 packages, and when the package is gone, you buy another package. That's the way I've functioned for years. You have 2 bags of diapers, and when one bag is gone, you buy another bag. That type of philosophy. Because it's like you don't want to get down to only having 2 diapers, because that's danger zone. and stuff. But I'm that same way with flour and, my pantry. It's like when you get to a certain level, you buy then. You don't wait until you've only got a cup of flour in the cupboard.
Right. You'll be prepared. Yeah, I know. I had to go to Wilmer the day the storm started, this last one here on Tuesday. And that just reminded me why I do not like to go grocery shopping.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there's all kinds of people in town, and you know how people in Minnesota park.
Oh, yeah.
In the parking lot when they can't see the lines. Oh,
Bob calls it Minnesota parking.
Yeah,
or winter parking.
Yeah, it's just crazy. And there was a lot of people in the store, and there was like your fruits and vegetables and all that kind of stuff was there, but your other things, the bread aisle was kind of empty. The cracker aisle was insanely empty. But I'm also shopping right after New Year's, and a lot of that stuff might have been used up simply because of people having New Year's parties and gatherings and that type of thing. So
I did go shopping New Year's Eve, and one of the crazy ones, the flavored coffee creamers were gone from Aldi's. There was none in the store. And I'm like, okay, not that that's a big deal in my world. Somebody's going to be traumatized when they can't flavor their coffee.
Yeah. I was thinking there was something else too, and I thought, oh, that was really weird that was out. But I have Madison does most of my grocery shopping. I don't.
You don't see it.
Yeah, I don't see that stuff or whatever, but I was surprised at the price of eggs in the store. Isn't it crazy? And the price of butter. Yep. I didn't
look at butter, but eggs.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I've been watching on some of my Facebook stuff, and people are talking about how expensive it is. What was it? 60 eggs at Walmart were $27.
Oh.
Yeah. And my eggs I sell out here, I sell for $6 a dozen. And mine are organically fed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, wow. Yeah. And
you haven't had issues with getting your chicken feed or anything like that, have you?
No, I have not. My chickens are pretty efficient, really. I'm surprised at how little food I go through, chicken feed I go through. I actually had kind of budgeted for a lot more, and they don't eat as much as I thought they were, or as the average chicken does on the research I had done before I got them. They eat maybe half to two-thirds of what.
Good for your budget.
Yeah. And so I was pleasantly surprised by that. And I don't know if it's because they're hybrid chicken. I have no idea what it would be.
Maybe it's the food that you're using.
Maybe. Yeah. They're not big chickens, they're not, but I don't know. They just don't eat as much as I thought they would. So that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm very happy to have chickens. I'm glad I made that decision this spring when I bought them, that especially with the price of the eggs in the store, I would much rather have my own eggs. If you can do that.
Yeah.
Not everybody can do that, but
no. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not feasible for us in town.
Yeah. And butter, I looked at butter, and gosh, even Walmart butter was like, what was it? $4 and some odd cents for, just plain old salted butter.
Yeah, I want to say Aldi's was $3, maybe right under $4.
Okay. Yeah, I was like, really? Wow, that's expensive.
Yeah, I don't know how people are doing it.
Yeah.
If I didn't have a freezer full of meat and frozen vegetables and fruits, it's like, or that I had bought flour so I make the majority of my bread, because I haven't looked at bread prices lately. So
no, I haven't either. So I honestly don't know what it's at, but I think we kind of covered what we wanted to today.
We did.
We want to thank you for tuning in to us, listening to our little discussion on how to prepare for a winter storm. We seem to be experts, I guess, on that, living in Minnesota.
We can do Minnesota storms.
Yes. We'd like to give a special thank you to picosupply.com for sponsoring our podcast. So until next time.
Put some kefir on it.
Thank you for listening to the Homestead Podcast's latest episode. Your hosts, Carol Radke and Jamie Kappas, are Two Gals Homesteading. To learn more, go to twogalshomesteading.com or the Two Gals Homesteading Facebook page at facebook.com/twogalshomesteading. Editing, audio production, and marketing of the Homestead Podcast is the responsibility of Media Transx. The Homestead Podcast is an audio product of Media Transx, a limited liability company, based in Minnesota, USA.